So without further ado, we'd like to open the first panel this day, entitled Challenges That Affect the International Community with Consequences on Religion, Religious Liberty and Freedom of Conscience, Trends in the Globalized World on Human Rights and Freedom of Religion. Of course, you may realize that your freedom of expression is absolute in terms of the contents. The first speaker, I'm sure you would like to hear the continuation of the excellent intervention this morning by Dr. Adama DIENG, United Nations Secretary General, Special Advisor of the United Nations Secretary on the Prevention of Genocide. To speak about the CV and the past activities of Dr. DIENG would take the entire time of our seminar. So I would just say that indeed Mr. DIENG is what we can call champions of human rights in the international law in the United Nations system.
I would like to start by thanking the International Association for the Defense of Freedom of Religion, and in particular to my good friend and old friend Liviu, Olteanu, for organizing and inviting me to this important and timely conference. Dear friends, we live in difficult times, and we are seeing situations around the world that are characterized by diverse forms of violence, serious violations of human rights and international law, and abuse of religion to targeting communities based on their religious identity. And it is tragic that in the 21st century, we are witnessing so many violent conflicts in which atrocities are being committed in the name of religion. Even outside of conflict, the twin freedoms, freedom of religion and belief, and freedom of opinion and expression, as the Special Rapporteur for Freedom of Religion and Belief, Hein Bielefeld, refers to them, are violated in too many parts of the world, where people are imprisoned, tortured, and killed for professing their beliefs or their lack of belief and expressing their opinions. So, my dear friends, it feels sometimes that we are regressing rather than advancing. Recent data from the PW Institute show, and I quote, more than 3/4 of the world's people, 77%, live in nations where religious restrictions of some kind are either high or very high. And even so-called democratic countries are suppressing freedom of expression and opinion as a consequence of the threat of terrorism and violent extremism. Not all the news is bad, however. The news we see on the media is not the only news. I have just spent 2 days, as I said during the launch of the book, with a group of religious leaders representing different faiths from across Africa: Jews, Christian, Muslim, paganists, etc. And what an inspiring group of people. Many are working in some of the toughest regions of Africa, where violence is a daily reality, and they are putting their lives on the line in order to defend the rights of others to practice their faith and live in peace and security. They are promoting interfaith dialogue and cooperation to prevent and resolve tensions between their communities. We have seen it in Central African Republic. We witness it in Côte d'Ivoire. And I can go and on, not to mention one of the most difficult situations, the one prevailing in Nigeria. So I would say that these people, these leaders, and also representative of group faith organizations, they spent those 2 days together to develop a regional strategy for for the prevention of incitement to violence that could lead to atrocity crimes. And they believe that their religious scriptures tell them to respect others, not to destroy them. They believe also that as religious leaders, they all lead large congregations and they have the power to influence their communities. They are not alone. My office has organized similar meetings with religious leaders from the Americas, from Europe, and from the Middle East and North Africa regions. So my dear friends, I believe we should be doing two things at least. On the one hand, we must continue to speak out in defense of all human rights, particularly when security threats are being used as justification for restrictions of basic rights and freedom. It is important that we speak out. I cannot but here make an intrusion in the current political race in the United States of America. We all heard one of the aspirant candidates, Mr. Donald Trump, going to the extent of saying, had that suspect been tortured, maybe one would have prevented what happened in Brussels. What a shame. How can one dare to justify the practice of torture today in the 21st century? It is simply unacceptable. Therefore, we have to speak out. We have also to make sure that nothing justifies the violations of human rights, the violation of human dignity. And we are seeing some governments using the pretext to fight terrorism, committing the most serious violations of human rights and international humanitarian law. Yes, we must condemn gross violations of human rights. We must condemn violations of international humanitarian law wherever they occur, and we must call for accountability, including accountability of states that are complicit as well as directly responsible for these violations. For the first time in history, that was last December, the UN Security Council adopted a resolution on the financing of terrorism. What does it mean? We have seen a group called Daesh, others call it ISIL, the so-called Islamic State, which is a group extremely rich. So how such a group of terrorists could be that rich? If not by selling oil. And if you sell oil, you sell antiquities, that means you have clients. And who are those clients? And that is why the Council adopted that resolution. But I was told recently that unfortunately Daesh is still continuing to sell oil. Why not to investigate those situations in accordance with the resolution which was adopted and take measure to stop it? Finally, let me simply say that we need to seek out and support those individuals and groups, including community, religious, and political leaders that are taking part in the principally stand placing values before interest and promoting peace and respect for diversity. During the break, one of our colleagues who used to live in Cameroon was remembering me the huge diversity in Cameroon, where you have all these religions living peacefully together. You have more than 250 ethnic groups. So that's very important. You go to my home country, Senegal, where for 20 years we had the president who was a Catholic, his wife a Catholic, while the large majority of the population is 95% Muslim. He was replaced by another president who is a Muslim married to a Christian for 18 years. succeeded by another one for 12 years, Muslim, and the wife is a Christian. What a beautiful symbol. In the same family, you'll find someone who is a priest, who even ended his career as a cardinal, to not name Chandu, Cardinal Chandu, the late Chandu, and his own brother was an imam. So that means simply we have to get together. We have to continue to promote the management of constructive diversity. I was saying recently to the head of the Jewish church in Ethiopia that God loves diversity. Therefore, if we agree that God created man at his own image, we need therefore to look like man, God. We need therefore to be peace, to be love, to be expression of humanity. Because the unicity of God is only mirrored by the unicity of humanity. And I thank you.